Great to be in the SEC. Welcome back to the SEC Recap Podcast, the show where every week we break down the madness, the mayhem, the magic of the best conference in college football. This is our Week 4 Power Rankings and Reaction episode. We're going to get into it right now. Week 4 gave us fireworks. Offenses went off, defenses flexed. A couple of teams learned some hard lessons out there. Had some blowouts, nail biters, even some 70-point explosions. Some defensive slugfests as well. SEC once again reminded us why Saturdays down here just hit different. We are counting down our power rankings from 16 all the way to number 1. Every team, every game, every key stat that mattered this week. And as always, we'll bring a little perspective, a little commentary, maybe a little heat for the fan bases that need to hear it. So buckle up, SEC fans. Grab your tailgate plate, your leftovers from yesterday, crank the volume. Let's dive into the Week 4 power rankings and recap SEC style. Now listen, if I was right this week about something and you were wrong, you've got to subscribe to the channel. Okay, that's the rule. And I want you to smash that like button if your team actually showed up this weekend, all right? We're going to get into it right now, starting at number 16 with the South Carolina Gamecocks. Now, the Gamecocks remain at the bottom after a 29-20 road loss at Missouri that dropped the Gamecocks to 2-2. Excuse me. They fought pretty hard, I think, coming off of last week's blowout loss, but just once again couldn't finish. Lenora Sellers throws 2 touchdowns, 302 yards through the air, yet the Gamecocks offense was entirely one-dimensional, literally going for -9 yards rushing as Mizzou's defensive front just dominated. Okay. Gamecocks actually 20-18 early in the fourth quarter, but 2 straight 3-and-outs just doomed them when it mattered the most. Penalties were a killer here, 12 for 88 yards, and just a lack of run game balance made sustaining those drives really, really tough. I think Shane Beamer and this squad have a lot to clean up, obviously. They're going to hope to regroup at home next week against Kentucky in a battle to escape the bottom of the SEC. Now, if you're joining us here on YouTube, I'm live here on Sunday morning. Got my coffee. Appreciate you being here. Like I said, please like, subscribe to the channel. But however you choose to chug your podcast on YouTube Music, Apple, Spotify, wherever, we appreciate your support and appreciate you being here. We are rolling through them today. At number 15, officially, and some people were already there a week or two ago, it is officially, for me, time to panic in Gainesville. Time to hit that panic button. Florida is now 1-3 after a dismal 26-7 loss at number 4 Miami, making this the Gators' worst start since 1986. It's a long time, people. Offensively, Florida hit rock bottom, just 141 total yards. Abysmal, 0 for 13 on third down. DJ Lagway just 61 yards through the air. Florida's lone score came on a 7-yard touchdown run by Jaden Ball to avoid the shutout. But Billy Napier just, I think he's now 20-22 at Florida, called the first half a trial of errors as the Gators just couldn't string together positive plays and had only 32 yards across their first 6 drives. Credit to the defense for fighting. They did keep it 13-7 in the fourth quarter, but ultimately the Hurricanes' ground attack wore them down. And let's see, who does Florida have coming up? I know it's not technically our preview episode yet. I think they get a bye week in week 5, a chance to get things right. And then they got Texas. Probably will still be a top 10 Texas team coming to town on October 4th. The Gators have to find some offense. They have to find some offense fast, or this season is going to spiral even further. Number 14, Kentucky Wildcats. Now, they did not play in week 4. They had a bye week, so not a whole lot the model can do to move them around here. They hold steady at 2-1. Last week they bounced back from a loss to Ole Miss with a 48-23 win over Eastern Michigan, powered by Cutter Boley, rejuvenated run game. Boley was in for the injured Zach Calzada. He threw for 240 and 2 touchdowns. Listen, I don't need to recap that game all over again because we recapped it last week. But that performance, I think, was a relief after the offense struggled in the first 2 games. Boley, I think, pretty good player in the pocket, doing what he needed to do. So Kentucky will now turn its attention to SEC play. They travel to Columbia, South Carolina, in a matchup where both teams desperately need a win. We'll preview that one coming into this week, but I actually lean Gamecocks for that matchup. I'll post my SEC precap predictions on Twitter, as well as give you all of those on Wednesday of this week. We always live stream on a Wednesday morning for the precap and preview episode, so look out for that one. Moving right along, y'all. See a few folks tuning in here live on Sunday morning on YouTube. Appreciate y'all being here. Go ahead and hit that like, subscribe button if you please. All right. At number 13, Mississippi State Bulldogs. They stay undefeated, 4-0 after taking care of business, 38-10 over Northern Illinois, a scrappy Northern Illinois. It was naughty early on in the game. The Bulldogs led just 14-10 at halftime. I mean, it's a pretty sloppy execution in some aspects of the game, but they regrouped, dominated in the second half. The ground game was really good. 292 yards, 6 per carry against that Huskies defense that had just been kind of see up until now. Bothwell had a breakout performance, 101 yards on 17 carries. I think his first 100-yard game at Mississippi State. And then Booth punched in a couple touchdowns. Shapen pretty quiet by his standards, just 160 passing, 1 touchdown, but added 51 rushing. Managed the offense very, very efficiently. I think that defense tightened up, pitched a shutout in the second half, even getting a late interception to seal it. At 4-0 for the first time since 2014, Mississippi State now gets to host number 15. We'll see if Tennessee moves at all in the AP. Not that that really matters. But the Vols will come to Starkville next week, and this will be a showdown that will show off if the Bulldogs are true contenders in the SEC. One of my favorite of the week at number 12, the Arkansas Razorbacks. Now, this was one of my weekly upset picks. I did pick Memphis to get the Razorbacks at home there at the Liberty Bowl. They tumble after a really, truly gut-wrenching 32-31 loss at Memphis. Second straight defeat after the Ole Miss loss, which was basically a shootout. Razorbacks led most of the way, but they just couldn't close the deal. They're up 31-26 in the fourth quarter. Hogs gave up a 64-yard touchdown run with 4:51 left to go. Still, they had a chance. They march it deep into Tigers territory in the final minutes until an absolutely crushing fumble by the running back, Mike Washington, at the Memphis 7-yard line with just 1:22 remaining. That ended the comeback bid. It was a heartbreaker for Taylor Green, who put up 325 passing with a touchdown, plus 53 on the ground to keep Arkansas in front most of the day. He did throw 2 picks. I told y'all in that precap episode, this is a good G5 defense for Memphis. The offense just stalled in the second half, only 3 points after halftime. Credit to Memphis for capitalizing. But I really think Sam Pittman's squad let this one get away from them. Now just 2-2. Arkansas has got to regroup quick. They've got no coming to town. A game that suddenly feels like a must-win. And it's not looking great for that one for the Razorbacks. 11, LSU is going to hold here. After a 56-11, we'll call it a tune-up blowout to FCS foe Southeastern Louisiana. That pushes the Tigers to 4-0. And I said this last, we'll have some concerns about LSU. Not that they're a bad team overall. Let me pop this over here and just show you. We'll keep it quick. This is on my website, secrecap.com. I also post this on Twitter every Sunday, Monday when this updates. Let me just enlarge this here. The efficiency metrics, right? This is how we really evaluate each team in the SEC against one another. We could do it across all the teams in the FBS. But where you want to be here is the bottom right quadrant, right? That's offensive EPA. That's going to be the higher the better. Defensive EPA here, the lower the better. Look at where LSU sits on this efficiency chart, right? Texas as well, for that matter. That's a different story. We'll get to Texas here. But South Carolina, Florida, LSU, kind of in the bottom left here, that's not where you want to be. This is effectively 3-loss territory in the SEC. LSU is 4-0, and this is the canary in the coal mine, y'all. They've got 2 more weeks, in my opinion, to kind of show some improvement in the efficiency metrics, maybe push over here into that bottom right. Or I'm telling you right now, LSU has some losses coming down the pipeline. One of them, and a lot of people are ready to have this conversation, one of them could be to Vanderbilt, when I think LSU has to go to Nashville in, was it November? So I'm just saying, not trying to raise the pitchforks and the torches on me this morning, but that's where my concern with LSU lies. That's why the model here, the rankings model you see, still is kind of holding them about middle of the road in the SEC, kind of back half, is it's seeing some concerns in the efficiency. All right. However, the offense in this game did look good. Garrett Nussmeier finally orchestrates the offensive explosion LSU fans have been waiting for. 4 touchdowns, 3 passing, 1 rushing, 273 yards through the air. Okay, very good. He exits in the third quarter with the game well in hand. LSU hangs 28 points in the second quarter alone. Nussmeier looks sharp despite the lingering torso injury or whatever's going on there, right? 25 of 31, spread the ball around. 8 different Tigers scored touchdowns. This is a complete rout. Defense dominated as expected. They hold Southeastern Louisiana to 30 total yards in the first half. They forced punts that shut up short field scores. Brian Kelly, obviously pleased to see the team play to the standard. Offense showing that big play rhythm that was just missing early on in the season. Next up, though, trip to Oxford to face Ole Miss in a big-time SEC matchup, and we'll see how they fare and how they hold up there. Number 10, Mizzou. Now, the score does not reflect this, but Mizzou was very, very dominant in this game, and I'm going to explain how, right? This was just a 29-20 win over South Carolina at home. It was not easy. This really was a rock fight. It was a slugfest. Tigers improved to 4-0 here. But if you go in and look at the stat line, Mizzou's front really just kind of put it to South Carolina. They held the Gamecocks to -9 yards rushing. They forced South Carolina to do it all through the air. The Tigers' ground game here was the difference. 285 rushing yards while just absolutely stoning the Gamecocks' run game. Ahmad Hardy, absolute workhorse, bouncing off defenders like a pinball, 138 yards at a touchdown. Prebula adds 171 passing and a touchdown, led the fourth quarter drive that put Mizzou ahead for good. With Missouri trailing 20-18, Prebula marched the offense downfield. Roberts caps it with a bruising 16-yard tutty. Defense just slammed the door. 2 straight 3-and-outs at a late field goal ices the game. The victory was Mizzou's 14th consecutive home win. Very impressive streak. If there is a concern, it's a slow start in SEC play. They trailed at the half. Maybe some missed opportunities that kept it closer than it needed to be. But at 4-0, 1-0 in the SEC, Mizzou now has momentum and confidence. They'll step out of conference to host UMass, a game they should handle easily before that schedule toughens up for them. Y'all, that's going to complete for the most part. The back half. We'll kind of get into the top 9 here. If you're enjoying the countdown so far, please drop a like. It helps more SEC fans find the show. and just share what we do. Again, we do this all for free. At number 9, I got the Texas A&M Aggies. Not much doing. I think they were off, right? Aggies had a bye week in week 4. But their stock is on the rise. 3-0 start. That includes a signature win last week in South Bend. They stunned then number 8 Notre Dame 41-40. A thriller that vaulted the Aggies into, let's see, the top 10. Did they? Yeah, at number 10 in the AP. Assume they'll hold there when the votes come out this week. We'll see again. Not that it really matters. But Elko squad, hopefully they're using the bye to rest up and enjoy that victory. They've got Auburn coming to town. They will begin SEC play at 3-0 at Kyle Field. We'll see if the Aggies can carry over that momentum from the Notre Dame upset. Not look too sluggish coming off the bye, looking refreshed. Hosting an Auburn team that is going on the road back-to-back weeks. Let's go ahead and talk about it because they're my number 8 team in the countdown. They're going to slide a little bit. Now, my model had Auburn in the top 5 last week. They're eyeballing after that. Now, I know how Auburn fans feel about this game. 24-17 loss at Oklahoma in that SEC opener. This one was personal. The storyline was there all week. I picked Auburn to win this game on the road. I'll own that one. That's what the model saw. I liked what I had seen from Auburn statistically to get this game. And listen, it was all there for the Tigers. They just didn't close it out. We can talk about the officiating. We'll mention that here at the end, okay? But let's just talk about the game, what actually happened. Jackson Arnold facing his former team. The Sooners defense, man, just made it a long afternoon for Jackson Arnold and that Auburn offensive line. They were absolutely overwhelmed. This was a school record 10 sacks allowed by Auburn. The constant pressure just stymied what Auburn was able to do, especially through the air. Arnold did finish with 220 passing and a touchdown, but also minus 11 rushing due to all those sacks. Despite the struggle, Auburn nearly pulls it off. 4-yard touchdown run by Malcolm Simmons put the Tigers up 17-16 with 7:08 to go. That lead was short-lived, however, as Auburn defense just couldn't stop the Oklahoma drive. Tigers gave up a 75-yard march led by John Mateer, a 9-yard keeper for the go-ahead score. Late safety, another sack on Arnold just sealed Auburn's fate there. There were some positives, okay? We'll get to the negatives, mostly with the officiating. There were some positives. The defense held OU's run game to just 32 yards, and Eric Singleton caught 9 balls as a reliable outlet for Arnold. But if you're Auburn, managing only 67 rushing yards and just not being able to account for those protection issues, you're now 3-1, 0-1 in the SEC. The season's still there in front of you, but you've got to regroup quickly because you go to Kyle Field, you go to College Station next week facing a rested A&M squad, a very, very good A&M squad. Pivotal game if Auburn wants to stay in here. Now that we have that out of the way, we can talk about the absolutely atrocious officiating that happened in this game. And listen, it was not all against Auburn. There were some egregiously missed calls and incorrect calls, in my opinion, for the Oklahoma side as well. As someone who did not have a dog in this fight, I feel like I can call it pretty objectively. Yeah, I picked Auburn to upset Oklahoma. I'm not an Auburn fan, and I'm not an Oklahoma fan by any stretch of the imagination, right? I don't care ultimately who wins this game. I don't bet on these games, even though I do put out my pre-cap and prediction models. That doesn't matter to me. The missed 15-yard penalty, what should have been a 15-yard penalty, due to the disguised substitution that then led to an Oklahoma touchdown. The SEC had to issue a statement that said, "We will take care of the accountability without further." Okay, great. That's not what accountability means. Accountability means we, the people, understand what happened and what is going to happen as a consequence of the officiating crew missing that call, which led to 7 points for Oklahoma, which, oh, by the way, happened to be the difference in this ball game. Oklahoma wins this one 24-17. How convenient is that? There are some other calls too. The catch out of the sideline where the ball was still moving, it was ruled a completion for Oklahoma. Meanwhile, the missed fumble call or the overturned fumble call that ends up going against Auburn, where the ball was still moving, it was ruled an incomplete. If you want to go down to the millisecond there and argue that one, all that is to say, it was really, really bad. The SEC issues a statement saying there's going to be accountability, but doesn't tell us what that accountability is going to be. That's not accountability. Hey, good luck whoever has that officiating crew in the future. Is it Georgia, Alabama next week? Man, nobody cares until it affects them, you know? Nobody cares. Everybody thinks it's funny until it affects them in a big game. Let's keep moving right along. Vanderbilt Commodores at number 7. Now, they jumped from number 12 in my rankings last week. Again, this is all model-based, guys. This is efficiencies. This is a few other metrics that I'm not going to go into as far as my ranking models. This is all statistically driven on the field. This is not just FPI or my gut feeling. Vanderbilt takes a big leap from number 12 in the conference standings to number 7, 4-0, lighting up the scoreboards, 70-21 over Georgia State. Most points in a game since World War I. They have not hit 70 since 1918. Oh, man. This was total domination from the first whistle. Vandy scored touchdowns on each of his first 6 drives, led 42-9 at the half. Diego Pavia just absolutely doing Diego Pavia things, passing for 245 and a tutty, rushing for 86 and another score before taking an early curtain call in the third quarter. Commodores pile up 635 yards of offense and never had to punt the ball. They got contributions from every which way. AJ Newberry ran into Blake Berlowitz, added a rushing tutty. Special teams even blocked a punt for a touchdown. I think Clark Lee's team clearly remembered that upset loss at Georgia State last year, and this was emphatic payback. 4-0 for the first time since 2008. And suddenly one of the feel-good stories in the SEC. They will face a sturdier test hosting Utah State. Not a great Utah State team, but a good Utah State, a respectable Utah State team. For now, Commodores rolling with confidence, man. People out there love to see it. Number 6, the Texas Longhorns showing some life against, albeit an overmatched Sam Houston, 55-0 rout, but giving the Longhorns some swagger as they enter SEC play. The headline was the return to form of Arch Manning. I think he looked much better. 309 passing, 3 touchdowns, 2 rushing. Now, we expect to see that, right? That's what we've always expected to see. The question still remains, do we see it against better competition? Do we see it next week when they go to the Swamp? Yeah, it's Florida. Florida's 1-3, 0-1 in conference. That's still a very good defense. Florida still has a very good defense, okay? A lot of talent on that defense. Does it show up there on the road? Yes, he played loose with confidence. But how does he, does that same play style, that swagger, standing over the defender in the end zone, do we see that on the road next week? Ryan Wingo, 53 yards and 13-yard touchdown strikes in the third quarter. When Texas was up 45-0, Arch's night was done. The defense deserves a lot of credit as well. They smothered the overmatched Sam Houston Bearcats, allowing just 17 yards on Sam Houston's first 15 plays, 5 sacks against an All-American rusher. Not against, with an All-American rusher. Rocky 2-1 start. Texas now 3-1. Seems to have found their footing. Arch has some swag back, and it couldn't come at a better time. They open SEC play on October 4th. No, not October 4th. Next week. Sorry. They get a bye next week. Week 6, they go to the Swamp. I was writing a date there. So if Arch can keep this up, Texas will be a dangerous contender in this conference. Mark my words. See a few of y'all tuning in here on YouTube. Thank you for being here with me on a Sunday morning. Please like, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. Do this all for free. Follow me on X at SEC Recap. And we're going into our top 5. Back to the Oklahoma Sooners. Now, we just recapped this game with Auburn. So I'm not going to deep dive into the stats again. We'll just kind of highlight the Auburn side of the ball here. 4-0, 1-0 in the SEC. They crack our top 5 after a gritty home win. Sooners prevailed 24-17 thanks to an absolutely stellar defensive effort. We mentioned those 10 sacks against that Auburn offensive line. Oklahoma's defense just absolutely terrorized them, man. Mason Thomas makes a huge impact, 2 sacks himself, including a strip sack safety at the end of the game. I mean, it felt like if that game went for another quarter, this dude was going to start glowing and going Super Saiyan. You know what I mean? QB John Mateer continues to make Sooner fans forget Arnold ever even played in Norman. He throws for 271 and a touchdown, led the defining drive of the game to put OU up there at the end in the fourth quarter. He marches them down for that 75-yard go-ahead score on the QB keeper. His favorite target is Satania. I think that's how you say his name. 9 catches, 127, including a 24-yard touchdown. The Sooners game, again, pretty much non-existent, but that's what Auburn was showing them, and they got it done through the air. Venable's really high on his team, the fight and the grit he mentioned, especially overcoming a few turnovers and mistakes. Oklahoma gets a bye. They can savor the win. They've already knocked off Michigan. Now Auburn. I think when the polls come out, Sooners could be back in the top 10 here, very much in the SEC title and playoff conversation. Taking another big jump here, my number 4 team, moving up, I believe, from number 8 last week, Alabama. And if you watched past weeks on my rankings episodes, I said that when we get to like week 4, 5, and 6, I expect Alabama to move back up into the top 5. That week 1, I'm going to go ahead and say it. It was an anomaly. I think we're seeing the real Alabama start to stand up. They were idle in week 4, so they did not play this week, right? They get a bye, as well as Georgia, before this monumental trip to Athens. Georgia and Alabama both getting a bye. The Tide are 2-1. That early non-con loss in week 1, but they bounced back with 2 straight wins. Not a lot to say here, right? I mean, they didn't play, but positive signs. Offense found rhythm in those recent victories, and the defense has kind of been stout as we would expect it. So relative to how everybody else performed this week, the model really likes Alabama moving forward. They get that extra week to heal up. DeBoer versus Smart should be a classic here on December 27th. Circled in bright red on Alabama's calendar. Let's move on ahead. Dropping just a spot. So the model had Tennessee at number 2 spot. Last, despite the loss to Georgia, really liked what it saw from Tennessee. But they dropped just slightly to number 3. Not that that's a big deal, right? These point margins are not big. If I go back to Alabama here, you'll see Alabama number 4 with a composite score in my model of 81.14. Tennessee at number 3, 82.71. The top teams in the league here, it is very, very close. Tennessee reminds everyone why they're still a force in the SEC. Bouncing back from that overtime loss to Georgia with a 56-24 thumping of UAB. Now, some people are going to look at that 24 number that UAB hung and be a little bewildered by it. But there was some weird stuff. This was all garbage time, mind you. This game was never in doubt. It's not like Tennessee had to put up 56 to win this game. Their starters were out in the second half. UAB had to do everything through the air. Let's see. Let me find you the stat really quick. Read the box score. To give you an idea, Tennessee, the defense holds UAB to just 23 yards on the ground. So Kitna and that UAB offense had to do everything through the air. They threw the ball 52 times, okay? 52 times. So they put up 371 yards on 52 attempts because basically they had to, right? But Tennessee came out fast again, man. Angry and fast, I'd say. Touchdowns on 6 of their first 7 possessions. They were up 42-7 by half. That just tells you how out of hand the game was. Basically, the entire second half was garbage time. Joey Aguilar, efficient and explosive. He's maybe my favorite quarterback in the SEC right now. Just for only being in that offense for like 4 months, what he's doing is amazing. 3 first-half touchdown passes, 218 yards, 1 INT. Really, that was a deflected ball that popped up. It wasn't like he threw the pick. The ball hit the receiver. It pops up into the open field. UAB just capitalized on it. But that one will go against him. He links up with Mike Matthews on a 39-yarder, Chris Brazel on a 19-yarder. Star Thomas did a little bit of everything, running one in, catching another. I think the resurgence of that Tennessee run game, which obviously is very important to Tennessee's identity. They pound out 235 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. Second half, you get Aguilar some rest. Merklinger comes in. He wasn't great. We didn't see any of George McIntyre. I think that was kind of a bummer for a lot of people, but this is Heupel's 40th win, at Tennessee. Vols know the secondary still has work to do, but some injured defensive backs got a chance to sit a little bit, and some young players got some extended action. All in all, Tennessee does exactly what it needed to do. Rebound with authority. Next week, they head to Starkville for a pretty tricky road game at Mississippi State. They're going to try to keep that offensive momentum rolling and reclaim a little bit of that defensive identity that we knew them for. Number 2 here, my model likes Ole Miss this week, vaulting to number 2 after another impressive win, 45-10 over Tulane. 4-0. Still early here for me on a Sunday morning. Ole Miss made sure there was no drama this time, right? They dominate from start to finish. I thought this could be a tricky non-con game. No, not at all. Trinidad Chambliss, now firmly the starter, delivers 307 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, plus 112 on the ground. He's a true dual threat. 0 turnovers for the second straight week. He looked in total command of the offense. He spreads the ball to 7 different receivers. Alexander gets a 33-yard tutty. The tight end, Wright, gets a 5-yard score. Kawan Lacey pounded 2 short-yard tutties on the at the end zone or on the goal line in the red zone. Running out of brain power, y'all. Stick with me. Appreciate y'all being here. Ole Miss got a boost from the kicking game. Carnero nails 3, including a 54-yarder. They can score in all phases of the game. Defensively, they were also sharp. They hold Tulane's starting QB to 0 of 9 to start off passing and just shut them down until garbage time. I think it's good that they were not looking ahead of this game to LSU. They needed to take care of business against a really well-coached team, I think, just overmatched in this environment. They need to carry that into next week because the schedule is really serious. You're hosting LSU on Saturday, colossal SEC showdown. Rebels' fast start has been the headliner here. We'll see if they can keep that train rolling against a pretty elite defense. We'll see what LSU's offense brings to the table there in Oxford. And as you might expect, at the number 1 spot, the Georgia Bulldogs, they didn't play. Again, they had a bye before they host Alabama coming up in week 5. The defending champs here, they had an open date. They're still fresh on everyone's mind after that overtime thriller in Knoxville. 3-0. They show that championship medal, 44-41. We don't need to recap that full game. Georgia gets perhaps the SEC biggest spotlight game of the season here. If you can imagine, it feels like we almost get one every single week here in the SEC. The home showdown with Alabama on Saturday, September 27th. It's a matchup everyone's been waiting for, right? We get a fresh Georgia team. We get a fresh Alabama team. Environment's going to be electric. The rankings, playoff stakes. It's all enormous. And the Bulldogs are going to put that 3-0 record on the line. Folks, circle it. Georgia's quest for another college football playoff appearance will face one of the toughest tests of the season yet again. Guys, see a few more of y'all tuning here, and that is actually going to wrap up our rankings and reaction episode. We kept it a little bit shorter this week. That's going to close out the rankings and reaction. Listen, whether your team won big or fell flat, at least we came through here on the SEC Recap Podcast. So make sure you click like on the video and please hit subscribe. Follow me on X at SEC Recap. We'll pop that up on screen here. And before I leave, I do this all for free. I don't advertise. I'm not sponsored. I just sell a few t-shirts. So if you want to head on over to my Bonfire store, bonfire.com/store/SEC Recap, I've got some great Saturdays merch. This is all brand new this season. Put a lot of time and effort into these designs. I've already ordered a couple, the Arkansas and the Tennessee for our household. But I've got every team on there, and these designs look fantastic, y'all. I've even got my legacy stuff, the original SEC Pride series, for the original SEC team. So head on over there again, bonfire.com/store/SEC Recap. Material fits great, guys. It lays really nice across the chest and shoulders. Comes in t-shirt, long sleeve, hoodies. It is almost fall, which means it's almost bonfire season. So please head to fire.com/store/SEC Recap. Y'all, here you have it. We just went 16-1 all the way through the rankings. There's the power rankings. Am I too high on anybody? Am I too low? Please let me know in the comments. You can say whatever you want. Just keep it nice. And if you want to keep it mean, you have to buy a t-shirt as penance. Guys, the stage is set for an epic week 5. We've got multiple heavyweight battles. Georgia hosting Alabama. Ole Miss hosting LSU in Oxford. We'll see if the Bulldogs can retain the crown or if the Tide can shake up the hierarchy. Plus, dark horse contenders, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Missouri, they're all looking to get them rolling. Reaction episode. Be sure to tune in on Wednesday. We'll live stream again on Wednesday morning as we preview and I show off the pre-cap prediction model, assess all of the action for week 5. Until then, guys, have a great week. See you on the next one.